One of Robin's more poorer moments, where I think it's very clear by everybody else that 3 out of the 5 don't want it. And the expo was supposed to decide if they're going to do it. And the answer is obviously no, but she just won't accept the no.
She knows how to move on and accept when things don't work. I don't think she understands how to accept when things don't work out. She just understands how to keep pushing the let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go button, but she doesn't figure out the solution or the core issue of the problem to actually let it go.
Yeah, I don't think that's her strong suit. And I think you can see that in her relationship later, where like she won't let go of Mary, and Mary's like, I'm out. And she like won't let go of her.
She won't let go of the idea of polygamy.
Won't let go of Janelle. Still hasn't let go of this.
Hey, besties. The tea here is piping, and I just wanted to share something with you that left my mouth on the floor yesterday as I heard McKelty Padron walk through the book her mother wrote about growing up in polygamy, her marriage to Cody, the show, all of the details that were revealed in her memoir. Her daughter, McKelty, has been going through this book on her Patreon and discussing in detail her thoughts about the book, her own opinions about what happened, even diving into her issues with her dad. And most recently, she covered one of the parts of the book called Woman. And in this, she discussed areas where her dad really failed as a father. And at times was very angry as she was discussing this book. She did mention in this Patreon that her relationship with her dad is not good. And in fact, reading the book made it and solidified this to be she's made the right choice. He's not the person she thinks he is. This relationship is very strained, very strained. She does hope one day that perhaps things will get better, but she said what her dad put her through, what her dad put her mother through, what her dad put her siblings through has made it so that she can't have a relationship with him. Something she mentioned in this Patreon, which left my mouth on the floor, had to do with the feeding of children. There's basic requirements we have as parents, and that includes clothing, feeding, providing safety and a home for our children, a place to sleep, a bed, keeping them clean, helping them with hygiene, all of these aspects of parenting that we have to do, required under the law. If we were to say not feed our kids, not provide housing, neglect their basic needs, we could be arrested for child neglect, right? Moms get in trouble all the time. And in polygamy, all of these details fall on the women. And it's McKelty who revealed this jaw-dropping statement. I want you to hear what she said about her dad.
Mom hints in this chapter, in this wife section a lot, that all the money would go into the family account, which was pretty much controlled by Cody, and they would say, I need this much money, and he would write a check. So we really don't know. I do think that he probably should have been a lot more financially invested in each of the households. He probably shouldn't have gotten a sports car because it's not like he spent any of his equal money that he got because he's one of the adults on the show. It's not like he spent any of his money on groceries. No. His money on groceries was spent when there was like a UFC fight night and he had to go get steak to put on the grill. That was the grocery money that he spent. And he probably had the wives go buy it. So
Cody didn't spend money that he made from the show that was his money to help his kids. Cody did not use his money that he made on the show to benefit his children, to pay for their food, to pay for their housing, to pay for their clothing, to pay for their mortgages, to pay for their rent. Okay? Let's rewind this for a minute. When they were on the show, they had a contract with TLC. The contract was with Kody Brown Family Entertainment, the LLC that was used to pay the family from TLC. Each one of the adults under the contract was supposed to be paid through the production company's payment to Kody Brown family, meaning each one of the adults was making or drawing a salary per episode for the work that they did on the show. McKelty makes clear that as soon as the show started, none of the family adults ever held 9-to-5 jobs again. Her father never worked outside of this job on the show. He might have had side hustles like going to gun shows, but these were not anything that were a job that he got much money from. These were things that he did on his free time. They were not sustainable sources of income. His primary income since the start of the show has been Sister Wives. They have not had any jobs since, not even Janelle. They have all had second tiers of funding, like getting involved in their MLMs, but they don't have traditional jobs. So the money that he was giving to these women was money they had rightfully earned for their work. Okay. So when Kody is writing a check to the women, he is paying them a salary. Now I would love to see how this played out in taxes. I would love to know if these women were given 1099s. I would love to know if only Kody Brown Family Entertainment was the one paying taxes on this income. I would love to know how the money was dispersed, if there were reporting records or wage statements made. But the women were paid for their work on the show. They were not going to Kody because Kody had money to give them to take care of their families. It was they had done work on the show and Kody was paying them for their work on the show. So when Kody took his salary, and he was the one that determined how much he gave to each household. Christine was clear in her book that she never asked what anyone else was receiving. She only told Kody how much money she needed, and he would write her a check, which begs the question, was she being paid a wage by Kody? And if so, and if not, there could be so many labor issues here. But that's a whole nother story for a whole different topic. But because Kody had all of the control, he got to siphon the money the way he wanted to. And so when a woman came to him for money, it was for work that she had already completed. That money then had to be spread out for her to cover her mortgage, her child's clothing, her child's schooling activities, sports events, curricular activities, how their food. And Kody, with his money, didn't have to worry about any of that. In fact, Kody never paid a dime to feed his children. Kody's income was then spent purchasing Lexuses or sports utility, like sports SUVs that were luxury. Today, we know that he drives an extremely expensive Mercedes. Kody purchased homes that were bigger than the home where he chose to live with his primary wife, Robin, that were bigger than everyone else's. With Robin, Kody paid the bills. Kody did not pay the bills for anyone else. So Kody was not even feeding his own children with the money he made. And the women were given whatever he decided to give them. And it appears as though not all of them knew what the others were making. The problem here for me is that under the law, this company, this production company, is using a loophole to not have to pay their employees. And they are not treating the family as employees, but rather as contractors. And they're not setting a minimum wage for the work that's being done for the show. Instead, they're using an episodic fee as a whole to the family. It's a way to bypass labor laws by not making them a contracted or a actual employee. It's a way to avoid having to pay a minimum wage. It's a way to avoid permits for children and having to get legal permits for the children that are being filmed. And it's shady. And to consider the fact that when they got their first show, the first season, the very first check that Kody received from the show, he used to purchase a Lexus convertible instead of helping his children. There's more. Just wait.
Leaving mom after giving birth to Truly 2 days after giving birth is frigging insane. Not going over to help his 16-year-old daughter when the mom was out of town and she was struggling because her 3-year-old sister, she's 16, her 3-year-old sister was so sick she was in a panic and not willing to go over and help his 16-year-old daughter and his 3-year-old daughter. That's freaking messed up. There are several things in this book that I'm like, what the hell, man? Dude.
The reason why Christine and the kids are so upset about Cody's time and where he spent it was revealed by McKelty and Tony in another Patreon, and I'll give you a synopsis. But because they only had this job, Cody wasn't working anywhere else. And so on the days that he was not filming, he should have been around, right? He should have been available to his kids. He should have been available to his wives. He should have been available. And yet, during these times when he wasn't working, he was never around, ever. He was always at Robin's house or in Robin's garage, never with the kids. And the kids could see that when he was not working, he was not with them. Okay. Because of the fact that he was not working outside of Sister Wives show, there was no reason for him to neglect his children. There was no reason for him not to be able to be there for his daughter Truly, because his daughter Truly was still his daughter, right? And McKelty was in charge of being there for her sister along with Aspen. And she said that when this was going down and when Truly was so sick, they were so terrified and they tried to get help from their dad, and their dad wouldn't help. And instead, he said he was busy at Robin's with her kids. McKelty even went as far as to say he wouldn't even come over and take Truly with him to Robin's house so that he could be with Truly at Robin's house and still be with Robin's kids. Check this out.
When Truly was in the hospital, I actually spent hours every single day with her because I could, because my school schedules typically started either really early and I was out way earlier, or started really late and I was out, so I had all of the morning. So I spent hours every day at the hospital with Truly. I didn't see Dad. I didn't see him visit. So either he visited when I wasn't there, and it was like a time block schedule for visiting, but I didn't see him. So the real blame came when Aspen called Mom because she needed help, because she didn't feel like Dad was going to help, and Dad was there to help. So then Mom had to go call Dad and say, go help. And the thing was, it was across the street. They were in the Vegas houses. It was 10 feet away to walk over and help. And heck, he could have taken Truly back to Robin's house. He could have taken Truly back to Robin's house and held her. So I think that it wasn't blaming her that she was sick. It was blaming him that he didn't do anything to help. He left the 16-year-old girl to take care of it all, including the 15-year-old girl, the 13-year-old boy, the 12 and 11-year-old other girls, and the 3-year-old. You left a 16-year-old to take care of 5 kids. That was what my mom blamed him for. It wasn't that she was sick. It was that he wasn't there.
I think Truly was like 2.5 when this all happened, 2.5, 3. She was born in 2010. So this would have been 2010, 12, 2013. By that point, Aspen would have been 17 or 18 years old, and McKelty would have been 16 at that time. And what I always thought was strange was that because Aspen was, the oldest, Christine was totally fine leaving her with the kids because Aspen could handle it for a couple days. And during the show, Cody made it seem like he would be going back and forth to make sure that he helped his daughters that were dealing with these little kids. Because ultimately, if the dad is home and all of the wives live in the same space in a cul-de-sac, he should be available to all of the little ones, especially the ones that are very young, like Truly. In fact, Truly probably should have just been with a parent rather than her sister. But what McKelty makes clear in her Patreons is that her dad was never around, ever, literally ever. So much so that her siblings viewed him as a stranger, just some guy that would show up every once in a while. No relationship to him. They didn't really even view him as a dad. When they needed help with Truly, he wouldn't help. He stayed over at Robin's because that's where his relationship was. And when the cameras weren't filming, he didn't care to have a relationship with his kids. He only interacted with them when the show was filming. We know that Aspen had to have been 18 because the same episode was when Leon was going off to college. Same episode. So they were 18, right? Putting all of that responsibility on Aspen is ridiculous. And what McKelty mentioned was that because her dad was never around and because they didn't have sister wives to help, and she didn't even have a sister wives relationship with anyone else at this point. Janelle's working on the show. Robin never helped with the kids. And Mary, she didn't want around the kids. And so Christine had to rely on her children to help raise her kids until her mom moved in. Okay. And the reason why her mom had to move in was because she was putting too much pressure on her daughters to help raise her kids because Kody wasn't helping. When Truly wouldn't be helped by the dad when the child is sick and won't go over there to get her, won't go over there to help her. Then while she's in the hospital, he's not even going to the hospital to see her. He would only go when the cameras were there, and he would only go for very short periods of time. Otherwise, the only people at the hospital with Truly were Christine, Aspen, and McKelty. So Kody's not only not paying for his kids to eat, but he's not even treating his children like they're his children. In a separate Patreon, McKelty made clear that despite the fact that Solomon was absolutely his dad's favorite child, her mom would never tell them that he wasn't with her or with her kids because he wanted to be with Solomon. Everyone knew that Solomon was his favorite kid. He wanted to be with Solomon all the time, and he neglected all of his other kids to be with his son Solomon and Ariella. And so this is why Christine has said that her daughter Truly says that she is not Kody's child. And McKelty said that it was painful for all of them because it was obvious that his kids he picked were Solomon and Ari. And Kody always goes back to the fact that, well, I was there when the kids were younger. And McKelty said that isn't even true. Before the show, her dad worked out of town almost all week. He would be home on the weekends. And the only time they saw him is if the kids wanted to spend time with him doing what he wanted to do. Otherwise, he had no relationship with his kids. And sometimes the only time the kids had alone time with him was on their birthday once a year. This is just disgusting. It's so sad for these kids. And McKelty also said in the same Patreon that she said there's absolutely no way that her siblings will be ever able to move on and forgive their father or even work towards forgiveness with their dad until the show is over. There's no possible way to repair the relationship so long as her dad has a platform where he can smear and degrade and disparage his kids. And until that platform is taken, there's no healing for anyone in the family. And she wishes that the show would be canceled. She understands it's their primary source of income, but she wants the show to be over so her siblings can heal. So tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and please click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, besties.